All right, Lori Clemmons is in the house, y'all. You guys are gonna love this one. I've been looking forward to it. Lori and I are soul brother and sisters. We got very similar journeys of pain to purpose, and I'm so excited to jump in. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about your program and how you help people these days. But I want to start with the origin story. Both of us went 20 years with chronic symptoms. And so tell me, what was that like? And how did you pull yourself out of it? How did you get here?
Okay, well, life was going just great. I mean, job was great, working in San Francisco, loving the hustle and the bustle, had just gotten married, and then got what I thought was just a little bit of a flu.
Mm.
And ended up, it turned into I was bedbound for almost 2 years
Wow.
and just out of the blue. And you went to all the doctors and, they ran the tests. Nothing's wrong. Everything looks great. Finally had one doctor tell me, we've run every test we can think about.
Mm.
And I can tell you, you're not going to die. Okay. But we don't have an answer. So you need to figure out how to live like this.
Mm.
And super discouraging.
Oh, yeah.
Here I was in my late 20s and ready for life and having to figure this out. Um, Incredibly isolating.
Mhm.
Not only physically isolating, but emotionally isolating
Mhm.
because no one I knew what was going on. In fact, most of the people I knew, it was fatigue.
Mhm.
Get some rest. You'll be fine. Just do more. Pace yourself and you'll be fine. And so I felt very physically and emotionally isolated.
Yeah.
Um, Finally, at one point, we decided to move. And come to find out years later, that home that we were in had been incredibly moldy.
Mhm.
Um, so
Did you know? I heard you talk about that. Did you know about the mold moving to the new house, or it was in retrospect?
it was completely in retrospect. We had we had complained to the landlord at this apartment we were in that that closet smells like cat pee.
Yeah.
And turned out to find out later, the guy's like, nobody ever had a cat in there.
Mhm.
Found out years later that was mold.
Mhm.
But we didn't know that at the time. So we got out of that apartment and into a better place.
Mhm.
And so through the years, some ups and some downs, um, started getting out quite a bit more, but still was still always a struggle.
Mhm.
Dealing with the fatigue, dealing with headaches, fibromyalgia pain. Um, I got a lot of food issues, chemical sensitivities. And then we did get to a point where I had come across a mold illness doctor.
Okay.
So he's like, test your house. Turns out the house that we had then been in for 20 plus years was incredibly moldy.
Mhm.
So we're actually kind of excited. It's like we figured this out.
Yeah.
So at that point, we had 3 kids. And so we packed up the kids and the dog in the car, drove away, left all of our belongings, sent everything to the dump.
Mhm.
Um, and so sold that. Fortunately, somebody wanted to buy the house, mold and all. They didn't care. And started completely over in a house that tested completely, I mean, it's really great for mold.
Mhm.
And so we were really excited. And within the next several months, I actually started getting new symptoms.
Yep. What? So it took a while for the symptoms to hit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they just kind of seemed to creep back in a little at a time.
Mhm.
And it was okay. So I'm in this great clean house with no mold. Why am I getting worse?
Mhm.
And it occurred to me through I had started doing some reading and some study. It occurred to me that even though we'd left all our belongings behind, I had brought that same fearful mindset with me.
Mhm.
My limbic system, my nervous system was still on guard. and was still hypervigilant. So even though I was now in this great no mold place, I started getting symptoms of more food allergies, more chemical sensitivity, to where I was then homebound.
Mm.
And completely confusing
Yeah.
of why that was happening, until finally it's like, okay, this is a brain thing.
Mm.
My brain is kind of like having that smoke alarm going off in the kitchen.
Yep.
And it's just it's there's nothing wrong. It's just my brain being hypervigilant.
Hmm.
And so was able to recognize that, and then was able to start looking more into the nervous system piece of healing.
Wow. That is so much of that's my story. I had Lyme disease and mold. Clemson University said it's one of the worst cases of mold they've seen.
Wow.
Speaking with the landlord, they moved us out. Nobody would believe us. Moved back in. Symptoms got worse. Was it ever mold? I don't know. But my brain and my nervous system became terrified of that. And the same thing when I moved to a house that was brand new, had no mold. Then it became EMF. Then I was afraid of EMF. And then we moved to another house. It was always a lot coming up around mold, EMF, those kind of things. I had heavy metals. I mean, you name it. And even moving in this new house that you're seeing me in now, there was like radon here, and it was just constantly this fear. Um, that I think I've had since childhood. And so what I'm wondering with your story is I hear the symptom of fatigue, and what I know is with the nervous system, typically the collapse, the freeze, it comes with prolonged activation, sympathetic activation. Was there a period of lots of anxiety and that type of stuff before, or did you go right into shutdown and that was your main symptom?
What's interesting, because I had never recognized until I started getting into this work the trauma that I had my first year of life.
Same, yeah.
Foster care, several surgeries.
Oh yeah.
That first year, I think, really set my limbic system up. And so looking back, I'm like, wow, I was triggered as a kid. I was dealing with a lot of limbic stuff as a kid, but I didn't recognize it because I didn't know. I thought, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
But looking back, I can see, wow, I don't know if I ever really relaxed very much, even as a kid, because of those early triggers.
Yeah.
Um, and so doing this work, it just it seems like a constant unfolding of new feelings of peace and safety, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, perfect. I mean, that was me. When I went to therapy, I had a laundry list of things that had happened to me. And when I was reading The Body Keeps the Score and it got
Mm.
to the early developmental stuff, I skipped past it. I was like, no way, my childhood was awesome. But later the memory started to resurface, and I remembered things like that didn't make sense, where I was constantly afraid. I was afraid of weather. I like to check. They're like, oh, Mitch is going to be a weatherman. Like, no, Mitch is terrified that something bad is going to happen, and he wants to think his way to safety by knowing what's coming. And so that made sense. And then I was scared of like little things like a car wash. If I felt out of control, if I wasn't in control, control was a big part of my journey. um, but it's kind of like that stuff is also leads to trying to figure out and fix these things my whole life, creating this sensitized state to eventually, I was biohacking, and it sounds like you did a little bit of that too. Did you before the brain tree training? Were you a biohacker?
I don't know if you'd call it biohacking, but just definitely did the mold protocols and did all of the diets. Oh my goodness, the diets. So many diets. Um, all of the different things that are out there, and the different supplements, and the crazy different things that I would try anything, because I just felt so stuck and powerless. And so when you say the word control, yeah, that definitely describes so much of my childhood, but then going the beginning stages, well, the 27 years of stages of being in my illness, of just trying to control my poor family, my poor kids,
Oh yeah.
with my, desire to control everything because of my limbic triggers. My fears were just so close to the surface that I just had that overwhelming need to control in order to feel safe as I could. But it was that never ending search for safety.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's all we knew. It's easy to look back and say, this sucked, but it's an intelligent way of the nervous system trying to find safety when we never got taught that. And I tell my
Wow.
clients, like, yeah, we didn't. Most of my clients are exactly like me right now, at least. And it's like, hey, this is like learning a new language. That's what Irene Lyon, my mentor, says. It's like learning a new language in your 30s and 40s and 50s. And
And 60s and 70s and 80s.
yeah, and I'm glad you said that because here so often too, my mom, like we had no contact for a while and we're building our relationship back and it's just so wild to hear that the things that she's dealing with is exactly how I felt, and there's this belief that I'm too old. And what I say is no, this is human. This is an innate thing. And something for the listeners that I think really helped me was you don't have to figure this out. Really, um, Simona Irwin came on the podcast and she hit me between the eyes, kind of like this dumbbell little cut that I got here. But she said, what keeps us stuck in sensitization is trying to figure it out and trying to fix it. And man, that was me, and I had to, start to learn some of these things, um, you know, and that's what I gotta say too, I have to almost change the description of my podcast because if you go and look at it, I don't know if it'll still be there by the time this airs, but it says, trauma or healing trauma is a body, is you gotta feel it. It's not a brain thing, and, I was very much on the side of it's bottom up, it's somatic, the brain, isn't involved, and man, getting into this brain retraining and combining it with the somatic changed the game for me. And a month ago, I had so much fatigue I could barely function, and now it's like it's really coming out of survival. And I've felt this through my journey, but not to the level. And things are beautiful. Energy is coming back. I have slept for the first time in 20 years. I've
Wow.
dropped medications that I was using to sleep and just moving through some scary things and trusting my body that I didn't think were possible. So I really wanted to hear from you your journey of when you started to apply this stuff and what was that like? How long did that take? Like to tell us about that.
So I started my brain training actually started several years earlier. I have a son who had been diagnosed with autism and so had gotten really into neurodevelopmental training
Okay.
and really working with the developing brain and being able to help remedy those parts of the brain that those developmental milestones had been missed.
Mhm.
So I had a 10-year-old who was crawling around on the ground because we're trying to rewire that right-left connection. So
Yeah.
things like that. And so I really saw how the brain was able to rewire and to heal.
Mhm.
But I had not realized how much adults could do that work too. So I was actually had been training to work with children with autism. My son had actually recovered from autism
What?
through that work. Yeah. And this, yeah, it was huge. And so I had a firm belief in seeing children, but at that point, it was so long ago that it was not common knowledge that, oh yeah, the adult brain can rewire too. And so once I started getting into some of this work, it just clicked.
Mhm.
And so I had started what had really happened, my youngest daughter had graduated from high school, and kids keep you busy. And now all of a sudden I'm like, I got nothing. What
Mm,
am I going to do? And kind of like that midlife crisis.
sure.
And so I decided, okay, I need to find out what makes me happy. At that point, I was not doing, I didn't realize that my physical body could heal. It was just all about, I focused my life on everybody else. What makes me happy? So I started taking some online classes. At that point, I was still homebound, taking some online classes and started trying to invite some people over into the house. I started learning some new things, started finding what hobbies did I want to start doing. Um, and by doing that, by really focusing on finding joy,
Mhm.
finding contentment, finding connection, I started realizing that I was feeling my symptoms were feeling better.
Hmm.
I was able to start getting out and walking a little bit, which
Mhm.
was huge just to be able to leave the house. We live near the San Francisco Bay. And so leaving the house was huge because the bay, the smells from the bay
Mm.
would be triggering. But now
Oh,
I was
yeah.
able to get out and walk,
Yeah.
and the smells weren't, I was able to work through it. The smells no longer bothered me
Mm.
and no reactions. And then I was able to build up some stamina. And within about 10 months, I ran my very first ever 5K.
Wow. 10 months.
Even when I was before all of this, high school, college, I couldn't have run a 5K.
Ah.
So it was amazing to be able to do that. Um, and it was so funny because at that point I can say, okay, I can go out now, I can do things. I'm healed. This is awesome. But really, there's so much more to it. It's not like you flip a switch. This is really an ongoing type of thing, where I'm constantly learning more about myself, and learning more about how my body works, how my limbic system works. And so it really is just this ongoing, I don't know quite the word, getting to know myself better,
Yeah.
ongoing growth that I get to have and to be a part of now.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like you're making it a lifestyle. It's
Yes.
not a quick fix or a one and done. Once you learn this work, it is so part of our innate, humanness, and it kind of starts happening all the time. When you're paying attention to your body, and I really love the way you approach this because it's such a intuitive way of doing it. What makes me happy? I've certainly I used to have a list of things that I like to do. If I didn't know what to do, I could go outside, go exercise, play with the dogs, whatever that may be. And that's what Irene talks about is follow your impulse. And so you're doing all of that, and I love that you're able to do that in 10 months. It seems like this brain retraining stuff can happen really quick. Part of me thinks, hey, when we've been in fight or flight for so long, we learn really fast in that state. So maybe, because our life depends on it. So that can work in our favor. I think I've heard Raylan talk about that a little bit. But what you did too it sounds like when it comes to the running, it's almost like what I was taught was, hey, get clear on your values, get clear on what brings you joy, and then fucking do it.
Yeah.
Quit, yeah, you're tired. Yeah, you're anxious. Do it that way. And the message that I got from the healing community is don't do too much. If you do too much, you're going to have a setback.
Right.
It was just, I felt like people were constantly telling me to rest. And if you can't tell, I'm a high energy, um, global highs, sensitive coming out of that kind of stuff. But I've always had lots of energy as well. And to tell me to go rest, I'm not doing what I love, And so I had to started basically going, all right, I'm just going to start with walking in the morning. And when I get up in the morning, that's the hardest part. You got the headaches, you got the fatigue, everything just sucks. And I would do 1, 2, 3, and get out of bed and go walk, and I'd be crying, doing it. And but over time, something that I learned is that safety that Simona taught me is safety is a pathway that we build with repetition by seeing the ball go through the hoop and seeing like I did what I loved, I enjoyed that, and I didn't die. And there's a drop of safety.
Yeah. Yeah. And so much, I love that. So much of what I see, though, can be on the other extreme of people feeling like I have to keep going. I have to do the work.
Yeah.
And so that can be just as triggering. Doing too much can be just as triggering as doing not enough. And so, so often I hear people have this list of, but this program says I need to do this much.
There you go. Yep.
And so that can keep us triggered. Feeling the pressure of I need to heal, I need to do more, I have to do the stuff. And so really finding that balance, finding that window of tolerance of taking a baby step that's not too far, but just a little bit of a push, and then, okay, I can come back now. I'm safe.
A little pendulation.
Yes, that back and forth, and really learning what it feels like. At what point do I go too far? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm right at that point. Now I'm going to stop and back off, not out of fear, but out of self-compassion, out of love for myself, out of respect for my body. Finding those boundaries and learning how to stay within them, and recognizing that the boundaries might be here today, but they might be here tomorrow. And so being able to adjust and work with our limbic system with wherever it's at on a given day. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of baby steps, a lot of trial and error in learning what works for each person in any given day. Yeah.
I love that. And to be able, we have to be have a bodily awareness, and it sounds like you're combining the top down, which is more brain, and the bottom up, more somatic, body based stuff. And I think that's, we were kind of getting at that a little bit before we started recording. I think that's the magic sauce. Like, are you team bottom up or are you team bottom down?
Yeah. And it really is a combination, and not even limiting it to bottom up, top down, but also how the exterior affects us, the people that we're around, the input that we're having from, whether it's news or, the different things that are coming at us, and how we're able to handle those things are huge. And so being able to monitor those as well and choose what works for our limbic system.
Yeah, that's one thing I had to certainly had friendships that didn't last through this, and the news didn't make it through it either. I got into politics for the first time in my life with this last political cycle, and by the end of it, could see, and that's what Irene and I talked about that. This is nervous system works kind of a red pill moment, because you really get to see your patterns, your past, how that shaped you, the environment that you're in, and you see that. The news, the food we're being fed, I mean, entertainment, you name it, it's all meant to stress us out, to control us by pointing fingers at the other person. And the more I get into this work, the more accepting I become, the more um, multidimensional I would become, instead of like this black or white type of thing. And I think that's common. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. Our limbic system is so tuned in to fear, and it's attracted to fear in an effort to control it. The closer I can get to fear, the more I'm able to keep myself safe.
The closer I can get to fear, tell me about that.
The closer I can get to whatever it is that's fearful,
Yeah.
then I have more, I can understand it better and know better how to keep myself safe.
Okay.
If I don't understand the fear, I don't know what to do to keep me safe.
Okay. So give me do you have like an example that you can think of with that? I immediately think of the figuring it out and trying to fix it. Is it like that, or is it different?
Kind of like politics.
Okay.
If I know what's going on,
Yeah.
then I can know what's up ahead, and I can keep myself safe. I know which team to be on. I know who to side with so I can be safe. I know how to plan my future so I can be safe, as opposed to, no, I'm okay right now. I'm safe. I can let that go. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
I can enjoy the life that I have. I can be building the life that I want
Mm-hmm.
and know that I'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, that's self-trust, safety, that's it. And where that "I have to be right," I think, comes from is from a childhood where we learned, "If I'm wrong, then I'm bad," something along those lines. And it's like, I can't be wrong because then, XYZ happens. And it's
Right.
always going back, to the origin, and also working with the patterns that we've created now to stay in these survival patterns, to stay in connection with others.
Yeah.
A lot of times
Yeah.
this work, we get to see those patterns and hear the fear. Like I said, mine was doing too much, and I would go into my little daily practice, and I'd knock on that door, and I would hear, "It's too much. It's too much." And I'd stop. I'd come out of the practice. I shut down, whatever that is. But then when I've done that enough times, I can trust, okay, I think I'm ready to walk through this. And then we're just riding that wave and come out the other side. And I think that was the first time I went to completion because I was so afraid that it was going to be too much. And man, that ended up being like one of the best, a huge turning point moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I remember not only do we train our own limbic system to be afraid, we also train those around us.
Mm.
I remember after I had been doing so much of this work and was doing so much better, I remember being out with a group with my husband, and I started to walk into a store, and it was in Santa Cruz, kind of the hippy dippy stuff. It had the incense going, and my husband grabbed me and physically grabbed me and pulled me out of the store because he's like, "It's do you smell that?"
Mm.
And so I had trained him
Yeah.
to have those same fears
Yeah.
because he was protecting me. And we train the people around us.
Mhm.
And so then part of coming out of this limbic overreaction is that we need to now train the people around us that, hey, no, wait a minute, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because we've created a world around us to protect us. And it really takes step by step breaking through that so that we can create that new um, behavior, that new life that we want to create.
Mhm. Society rewards these behaviors so much. So one of the things that really helped me was seeing the way I was able to see the fix it and figure it out pattern was that fear comes in, and then I go into these OCD type behaviors, these compulsive reactions to, I need to change my diet, I need to change my workout, whatever I have consumed or been in the environment of in the last 24 hours became the threat. And so the thing for me to step out of that was to map the loop to be able to see, okay, that's the thought that gets me. And then here comes the compulsive things. And it feels so urgent. It feels like I got to do it right now. And you can look at society, and that's what everybody's pushing. If you're sick, they got something to sell you. You went through all the diets. You're telling me it's not, illness doesn't always start in the gut. It starts in the nervous system. But when we have everybody trying to sell us something and everybody's marketing, and we've got a capitalistic society and everybody wants to make money, and I get that. um we're constantly hyper vigilant and trying to fix things.
Yeah. Yeah. And really the key is not that those things are bad,
Ah,
not that doctors are bad, not that medications are bad, not that supplements are bad or diet, but the key is rather than going after those things from a place of fear,
uh,
being able to step back, take a few breaths, relax that nervous system, and then be able to make choices from a place of, I choose to support my body in this way,
yes.
rather than that doctor better fix me. That's an important appointment. He better have something. This medicine better do it. It's like, you know what? We're going to see what he has to say, and and decide if this is a path that I choose to go down. Um, this medication, will it support the work that I'm doing right now? Is it something that I think will be beneficial?
Mhm.
Or, you know what? I see that path, but I really feel like this is a better path for me.
Mhm.
And making those decisions from a wise place, from that mindful self, rather than making those decisions from the limbic system out of fear.
Yeah, and we would say something like, are you in your child consciousness or are you
Mm.
your adult consciousness? And this happened to me just the other day. I had a trigger happen after I've been feeling really good for a couple of weeks. And it was interesting, and I think that's the attitude to take is the curiosity. But I was in a session with a client and something triggered me. And it's like all of a sudden I'm talking to this person, but I could hear the intellectualization. It was like, did I take something like a supplement? Was this food bad? And I'm like, whoa, 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 what is all this? The next thing you know, I'm, disassociating but I'm able to catch that. And the thing that kind of got me was now I wanted to avoid all of these things. And I was talking to my wife about it but I was able to catch it because of so much education. And I said, oh, I'm saying it's going to be too much. And so I think I'm in my thinking brain and I'm in my child consciousness, this wounded part of me that is afraid. And so I'm not going to act on that right now. Like, let me regulate, let me give it a couple days. Usually it's just give me a good night of sleep. And now that thing that was scary, I'm excited about it again. Um, so is it normal when we're coming out of this to have like these ups and downs, or is it just like you're done?
Oh, it is so normal. And I mean, I've been doing this work for years. And even though all of my physical symptoms were gone, I would still have limbic things that would trigger my limbic system. And actually, that's normal. I
Okay.
mean, you think about it, our limbic system is here for a reason. If we're driving along and somebody runs a red light, that limbic system jumps in and we hit the brakes without having to even think about it. That limbic system is there to save us in those types of critical emergencies. It's not the enemy. It's just that when we've been stuck in that hypervigilance for so long, it gets stuck on
Mm-hmm.
and is constantly running the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to, when we do get a trigger, um, not long ago, I went down to get firewood from the shed. My husband had left a brown extension cord sitting in the leaves. And so I caught it out of the corner of my eye. And first thing I thought, rattlesnake. We don't even have rattlesnakes here. But my limbic system doing what it does completely triggered. I jumped, I screamed, just my whole body felt sick.
Yeah.
And but my body or my brain did what it was supposed to do.
Right.
If that had been a rattlesnake, it would have saved me.
Yep.
But so now my role then is to be able to, oh, okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
calm it down.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is for the next several days, every time I would start to go down to the shed, I could feel my heart start racing again
Oh, okay. Would you call
because my
it nerve?
brain was preparing me for there's snakes down there. And so my role then is to be able to, oh, that's so funny. That was so funny. We don't need to worry about snakes.
Okay.
Rather than to let my limbic system go down that path of, yeah, snakes, they're bad, which would have just continued that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just such a great analogy for me of how we can guide our limbic system through these triggers that are going to come. They're just part of life. If we're living a normal life, we're going to get triggers. And we now have the ability, once we've done this work, to be able to guide our nervous system through it into safety rather than staying stuck for years on end,
Yep.
which is where I had been.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I mean, what an amazing tool to have this work. I mean, I had a experience with my wife where somebody was banging on our house at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And my wife was convinced that somebody was breaking in. And when I got woke up, that's what I was told. And, we have like no EMF in the house. So I got to turn all the power on. I'm running around the house and getting a weapon and ready to fight for my life. And we're both losing it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going out there. And we're out here in the country. And a business card from a cop falls out. Somebody had ran over our mailbox and they decided they wouldn't tell us at 4 o'clock in the morning. And which, whatever. And so we could not go back to sleep. We were very, very stressed. It brought up a trigger. When my brother passed away, I got woken up by my uncle, and in the middle of the night, I haven't turned my phone on since. And also, my wife had a peeping tom, who was, uh, you know, raping girls in college, and that knocked on a door where she was at. Now she didn't let him in, but it scared the crap out of her, and that scared me. And how cool is it that we have these tools now where I go, oh, I got this. Like, triggers are actually a good thing because it opens up that pathway in the brain, and now you are teed up. And I like how you talk to it. It's like, oh, you don't have to worry about that. Same kind of thing. It's like, oh, I remember this memory. Like, what did I need? Oh, I needed connection. I needed safety. And let's give ourselves that right now. And so we shake and we move and we have all this organic movement come out, and then we laugh ourselves back to sleep. And I had a great day and didn't even remember this traumatic event had happened because I had a trauma come out of my system. And like you just said, if I didn't have this tool, that would have meant, I don't know how many months of being super sensitized.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It is. And even everyday things. I was up with a sick kid the other night, and I woke up in the morning and my limbic system was like, I feel crappy. It's going to be a crappy day.
Mhm.
And typically before I would have like, yeah, this is a terrible day. I feel horrible. This is awful. And I'm really ticked at him. It wasn't his fault.
Right.
But, we can go there. But I was able to recognize, oh, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm a little tired. Yeah, I can rearrange some things, maybe take a nap later,
Mhm.
but I can still have a really good day. In fact, look at all these fun things I've got today. It's going to be a great day.
Mhm.
And so I was able to kind of catch those thoughts,
Mhm.
catch those emotions, and be able to then gently guide them in the direction that I wanted to go, rather than those old patterns of staying stuck.
Mhm.
And it turned out to be a great day. I ended up not needing a nap because so many fun things ended up happening. But if I'd have stayed stuck in that place, then it would have been a really bad day because that's what I was looking for. What we look for is what we find in most cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's demonstrating how much capacity and safety and the ability to regulate that you built over these years, and that was just impossible. For me, that was impossible like 2 months ago, you know?
Yeah.
And some things happen quick. I think other things take time, and that's why, we look at this thing like a lifestyle. You mentioned guiding of the limbic system. I'm curious what that looks like with the clients. And I know you've also written a book. I'd love to hear a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. In the book, I talk about a story, and we kind of follow a little bit of this story through the book as we learn about our own limbic system, our own nervous system. And it's the story about a king. And really, that king is kind of like us as we, are guiding and leading our own life.
Mhm.
And this king, as he gets his kingdom, which is kind of like our body, all the different people in the kingdom that do all the work.
Mhm.
And he gets his kingdom and all of his subjects, and he's presented with a baby dragon. And this dragon is going to grow up to be his protector.
Mhm.
And so then he also gets a group of historians who will remember the stories of the kingdom, so he can always be safe.
Mm.
And then he also gets a ambassador And this ambassador is his relationship with the outside world. And it's so much like us. Over the beginning of this story, this king doesn't know how to handle this powerful dragon. And so the dragon ends up breathing fire all over the kingdom and just makes a mess of the kingdom. The historians start telling these terrible stories of the dragon is bad and we are powerless to fix anything. The world outside is so scary. And so it's so much of us, of what happens in our life as we're growing up, before we really understand this work. And then we get to a point where the king realizes, wait a minute, I'm the king. I can do this. I can lead. And we see him start learning how to befriend his dragon. Even though the dragon is more powerful than he is, he learns how to make friends with it so he can guide it. It still protects him, but then he's able to talk it down when it's time to talk it down. Or he's able to let it fly when it needs to do the work it needs to do. He starts honoring the people of his kingdom. He used to yell at them, and yeah, I know how many times I've yelled at my body. Like, I wish I could trade you in for a better model. And just yelling at our bodies, hating our bodies.
Yeah.
And so he realizes you can't heal a kingdom that you hate. And so he starts, instead of, in the past, he would send troops to make the people work harder. Now he's like, he goes there. What do you guys need? What resources, what supplies do you need? How can I help? You're doing great. He starts speaking to his body with love and compassion. And so then his kingdom starts being able to do the work of healing. He starts listening to the stories of his historians. And then he starts realizing, guys, those stories, they're frightening the dragon. Let's tell some better stories. He starts creating and giving new stories. Just in the same way that we have a choice. Am I going to listen to my storytellers of, see, you didn't get much sleep tonight, it's going to be a crappy day?
Yep.
Or am I going to say, oh, no, wait a minute. We got some good stuff today. Am I going to guide my thoughts? And then being able to work with our relationship with the outside world, whether that's the people that we're around, the media that we choose to let in. It's our home. And, I know for me, if my house is a mess, I'm a mess. I really like being able to just breathe and know that there's some order. Can be our relationship with nature. It can be our relationship with, if you believe in God or higher power. It's all of those things outside of us that we then are able to make peace with. And so then we see how the king, as he's able to learn how to guide all of the different parts. Some parts need more attention at different times. And so it really is, there's no one path for everybody. There are so many different small things going on for each of us. And for some people, the relationship work can be huge. For some people, maybe the somatics can be huge. For other people, it's more of the neural retraining, working on those thoughts. But it really is all of those different parts working together. And I know that sometimes different things rise to the surface. When I was first writing the book, the whole idea of having this ambassador that connects with the outside world, I'm like, yeah, okay, I like nature. I guess, okay, we'll include that. And I didn't realize how deep that really was until that kind of came to the surface in some relationships. And it really is just a constant evolving of we're kind of like peeling the layers of an onion. We're constantly going deeper and deeper into this work, and just the joy that it brings is amazing. Yeah.
What a great framework And I love the thing I'm thinking about as you're describing this dragon is so many of us hate the symptoms, hate what we're dealing with, and what I find is the sensitivity that used to drive me bonkers actually is a superpower. It's intuition. It makes me really good in this work. My ability to scan environments and see little things. Well, when I'm not constantly in fear, it's just information. It's data. It's like a super AI computer that I can use to help other people. Who would have known this thing could be used for good?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and really that compassion for ourselves. I think we live in a culture where we don't have that. We tend to push ourselves harder. I got to do more. I got to do more. Um, and that keeps that limbic system triggered, and that keeps us in that fear. I mean, if we listen to the way that we speak to ourselves, I know for me, before I started this work, I look back now and it was a constant. You are such an idiot. Why did you do that? You're a mess. Nobody would like you. Nobody would like this. Why? What are you doing? And I would never speak to anybody else that way.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
when
we
we
do ourself like that, you know?
exactly. And so when we do that, we keep that fear response and increase that fear response. And so when we can start speaking to ourselves in the same way we would speak to our child
Mhm,
or a grandchild
mhm,
or our best friend who's going through something difficult,
mhm,
when we can start having that same compassion for ourselves, then that limbic system is able to relax.
mhm.
Just like that poor dragon, as long as we're yelling at it, think about if you have a dog or a cat, if you're yelling at it, um, they're not going to want to be around you.
Mhm.
But yet when we can calm and gentle and guide, whether it's our limbic system or nervous system, whether it's our body, whether it's our relationships, whether it's our thoughts, when we can guide those, then it makes all the difference in the world. It just changes everything. And it brings a whole different joy to life. And that joy and that peace, I always thought I had it.
Mhm,
I didn't realize I didn't have it because it was all I knew.
mhm.
And so it just really am grateful to be able to go through all of this and have it all come out. Yeah, I did not enjoy the having the symptoms part, but it has brought me to a place where it's like, wow, this is great. This feels amazing. And I never could have done that from where I was.
Mm.
Kind of having to go through that fire to get where you need to be.
Oh, and I wanna celebrate that too, and I remember, gosh, a year ago when I met Irene and Seth and was with them in British Columbia, and, Seth was telling a story that he was like, "Yeah, I used to have anxiety," and I had to stop. What do you mean you used to? I had dealt with that for so long that I wasn't sure. And so I'm so grateful that you share that story with us of persistent for 20 years, both of us, to say, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna figure this out. And the thing that you're talking about, this self-compassion and speaking to ourselves in that way, that we wouldn't want to speak to anybody else in the way we were speaking to ourselves. When we can recognize that and give ourselves that gift, that seems like it makes a huge shift. And I think looking back, that was a first step for me that really propelled me forward. Was one, just recognizing the thoughts, and one thing I would say is just like, oh man, that hurts, and I'd say that out loud, and the less we interact with that thought, the more it seems to calm down. So I'm curious, if you had someone that was really in sensitization, you could call it global high, you could call it, chronic fatigue, all the labels, right? And they're waking up with tons of fatigue. Maybe they're getting out of bed, or maybe they're not. They got headaches all day long, and they're just ruminating like crazy. And maybe they've been there for freaking 10, 20 years like us. What's like a step one? How would you guide them?
I teach what I call compassionate self-coaching.
Okay.
And 3 simple steps. It starts with compassionate awareness,
Mm-hmm.
being aware, being able to take that breath. And it's like, wow, you know what? Yeah, this is hard. This is hard, but I'm here. I'm here.
I like that.
And you know what? I'm feeling pretty hopeless right now, or I'm feeling pretty defeated. Compassion with the awareness is huge. Just being seen, being heard, being acknowledged in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next step is, well, where do I want to go? Well, I want to feel at peace right now, but I'm not. And we're not in a good place, and that's okay. I want to feel at peace, but I'm not. And so that self-coaching of where do I want to go? What would that feel like? What would that be like to feel at peace right now? And just thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then self-care. What is one small step that I can take towards feeling at peace right now? You know what? I can take just a couple of breaths. I can feel my hand on my heart right now. Or maybe I can just roll my shoulders a bit
Mm-hmm.
and just feel some relaxing in my neck. What's one small step I can take towards that right now? And really, so often we want the big thing that's going to fix it. But the truth is, it's these small little steps with consistency that add up, more so than any big thing you're going to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's taking several times throughout your day to just take those deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay right now.
Mm-hmm.
And those add up, allowing that nervous system to start calming down.
Mm-hmm.
A few little movements. When you're in bed and barely able to walk around, going for a 1-mile hike isn't going to do it. It's being able to look out the window and appreciate the tree and the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It's that little step over time, continuing to do those that are going to help. Being able to, I talk about 5 principles of neural retraining, the 5 foundational principles. And the first one is creating a positive environment. Being able to, how am I spending my time today? Maybe taking up a new hobby. Being able to do knitting or crocheting is a really nice one because you've got the sensory of the yarn. And then you're keeping your mind occupied. Okay, now how do I do that? What's next? It's a very mind-body type of thing. Doing some art, listening to some music that feels good. Doing these different things to create that positive environment around us so that we're not going down into those thoughts. We're a little distracted.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good place to feel, to go to.
Mm-hmm.
The next foundational step is befriending our body. When we're having symptoms, it's real easy to get angry with our body. And I over and over so many times, I just kept telling my body, I hate you. I just want to trade you in for a model that works. And I need to fix you. You're broken. And when if we spoke to anybody like that, yeah, they're going to be triggered.
Yeah.
So being able to befriend our body and realize, hey, wait a minute, we're on the same team. And then third is being able to learn how to guide our thoughts and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
If I believe I'm broken and I keep telling myself I'm just so broken, I'm going to be like this forever, then we're going to believe that. But when we can say, wait a minute, this is a difficult season. And you know what? I'm going to make a few steps towards things today.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to rewire those old thoughts of hopelessness and helplessness and isolation,
Mm-hmm.
those simple steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth foundational principle is creating supportive relationships. And really, it takes intention to create. Sometimes we might need to allow some relationships to kind of drift away.
Yep.
Less time investment in certain relationships, and then more investment in other relationships. And again, that can be a lot of different ways, whether it's relationships with people, with media, with nature, with God or higher power, whatever those relationships look like, being more intentional about them. And then the fifth foundational principle then is practicing intentional self-leadership. So really in that story, being the king, recognizing that, okay, I get choices. I have choices how I want to lead myself here. And being able to lead our nervous system with gentleness and compassion, being able to befriend our body, being able to guide our thoughts, and then being able to develop those relationships. And so often we don't realize that we have that king, that queen place of our mindful self being able to make decisions. So often we are still stuck in that limbic place of reacting rather than sitting with and thinking and choosing.
So beautiful. I know that anybody that hears that's going to be excited to get the book, and it really demonstrates kind of what we were talking earlier, the combination of the top down and the bottom up. And you can't do this without being able to have build awareness and capacity to be with these things and give ourselves what we need. Was mentioning earlier, so often we reach to the outside and we're trying to change, but did we check in with ourselves? Did we bring some connection and some presence? And when we can do that, we're validating what's going on. We're not overriding it. We're connecting with ourselves. We're attuning. We're giving ourselves what we need. We're literally repairing attachment wounds. We're building safety and capacity. And something that Simona told me too that I think is so powerful for people to hear. I'm always trying to I love understanding things, right? Like that's that intellectualizer side of me, which is great. And I really wanted things to be like, here's when you do this and here's when you do that. And I thought, oh, my learning has outpaced my body, my capacity. And so it's like I need to work on the sensitization, and then I'll go work on this laundry list of trauma that has been too much for my current capacity. And she said, I think what you may find is through this, so much of that is repaired. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I can tell you what a month or two of doing this, and I'm like, wow, every time I show up for myself, the practice is building safety and trust. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a pathway that's built with repetition. And so if I'm constantly showing up for myself, I'm doing the scary thing, I'm working with the thoughts, I'm giving my body what it needs, I'm meeting myself where I'm at, and I'm constantly attuning. Well, that's what I wanted my whole life, I realize. And wow, how cool is it that I can be the superhero in the story and I can show up for myself? And I often kind of have that visual in my head that I'll get an image of a younger part of me and something that was too much, and I'll swoop in like a superhero and take him, and I get talk to him like, what do you need? What's going on? How can I help you? And it's such a different way of being than berating ourselves constantly. And it just makes sense that this stuff would work and can shift and heal so much trauma with this approach. And I'm just so grateful for you sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, well, thanks. And I think what I really hear with what you're saying is that we need different things at different times.
Yeah.
Different things are coming up to be healed. And so often I hear people say, well, I've done this program or that program and it didn't work for me. It's not a good program. It works for everybody else, but it didn't work for me. So it's a bad program, or I'm broken, or nothing works for me. But really, it's just about finding, what do I need right now?
Yeah.
And, for some people, the somatic work, that's what I need right now. But for someone who is not in that place, perhaps it's not going to do very much. So really, it's so much about getting to know ourselves and learning, what do I need right now? So that place of compassionate awareness, how am I doing? What do I want right now? And what's a small step I can take to get there? And just really kind of teasing out all the different little pieces and getting to know ourselves, learning to listen to our nervous system and what it needs at a given point.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have the medicine. For anybody listening to this, oh, I hate somebody telling me this, but it's so true. You know, you don't have to figure it out. That's actually counterproductive. Your nervous system is the map. And when you can trust and awareness and you've got good education, a lot of that's been shared today. Definitely go get Lori's book. But in these moments, we can meet ourselves differently and we become our medicine instead of waiting for somebody else to save us. And we trust that our nervous system, whatever's here is the practice. That's what's meant to happen. So much of it, I was just resisting what was here. And now I'm like, yep, here. The other day I had one, I got in there and I was doing my practice and this like resistance came up and it was like, no. And I saw this like little kid that was like throwing a fit. And for a second, I was like, well, I wanted to work on this, I don't know, fatigue that's coming up. And from my training, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna sit here and we're not gonna do anything, and that's fine. And it's just like the body, it's what it wanted that day. And the more we can listen and build awareness and get really good education from a book like yours and hearing a story like yours, it gives people so much hope. So thanks again for sharing. And if Lori, if folks want to find you, I see the book in the background there,
Yes.
Rewire Your Wellness. What are your different offerings? How can people find you? Where can we get the book?
The book is available on Amazon or for most of the major retailers worldwide.
Okay.
And so that is very accessible. I also offer, at different times, I offer a Rewire Your Wellness book club,
Nice.
which is just a 4-week, it's really an inexpensive way to get into the book, to start getting some of the main ideas from it so that you can start putting things into practice. Really focused on that compassionate self-coaching. And then I also offer one-on-one coaching. And I have a group coaching course as well that I offer about 3 times a year. So that'll be coming up, depending on when this comes out. That'll be coming up again in January. So my website is loriclemmons.com. So very easy to find. And then loriclemmons.com/resources has a list of a lot of free things that you can get. I have a very active YouTube channel with a lot of how-to videos and ways to get you started, some meditation, some visualizations. So really do a lot on my YouTube channel. I have a really good library there to get started for people.
You're definitely inspiring me. You have inspired me today. Looking up to your journey and seeing how far you've come and how you've, taken your story of pain and turned it into purpose and have all these resources for people. You got the community, you got a book, one-on-one group coaching, lots of free resources on YouTube. I'm hoping I can push some of that stuff out here in the next couple of years myself. And again, Lori, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we have known each other forever, and it's so great to hear another story of someone overcoming what felt impossible at one point.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this podcast and getting the word out that this work is amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have all the links below so people can check you out, and hopefully I can get you back for a round 2 at some point.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Well, bye, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Rooted Conversations podcast. Sometimes I forget that. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.